An darna game me yedda yenna days an SWPL hun a Glasgow City a Dolonai operating shot at Park Petershill and the Balla Glasgow. Agus he show hula cat is turning yenna game your show is BBC Alapa. Hello agus fáiltear a cháirtin go game pácáise beo a nach is BBC Alapa agus well. When sin jéidir líon Jadóní sa chain the chail Glasgow City and Chicht Alaska as joey Keith Jiak Bliana. At the Dolodius noch and I operating agus am Toliche Gavil Emma Black them Hove Drasta Shaun Clicker Glasgow City. Emma, thanks very much for joining us here on BBC Alapa, and just on Sunday there we saw the end of Glasgow City's dominance in the SWPL 1 when they lost the title to Rangers. You were involved in 9 of those 14 titles. Give us your thoughts on that era of dominance coming to an end.
You know, of course the Glasgow City players will be disappointed. However, deep down they'd have known this day was going to come. They knew they were going to have to not give up the league title, but you know, the investment from both the Old Firm teams, it was always going to happen, so it was only going to be a matter of time, and deep down the players will be disappointed.
Eileen Gleeson has made a number of changes in her side tonight. What do you think her message is ahead of this one? She'll need to get her players up for this one.
I don't think she will. I think on the back of the weekend's result and obviously giving up the league title, as a player, former player, you just want to get back on that pitch as soon as possible and put the disappointment behind you.
Well, thanks very much, Emma. We'll hear more from you throughout the game, of course. And, well, has sin go dul nuair go neach adas in isise a bhí na skipi na Chinamach a gearstar agus bhí a game atáisce an ceann Bacon Vinitans mar sin héit sin nuail go neach adas Derek Machgay.
Tá bláte bhícheal fescar bria geríú seo an ceamtú Glasgow Petershill ai ruddeach gach a becan de gú an ceircileoras chan mi gran nach pisina tar becan de bhuaúrican i clúigearin trona game seo. City as an darna just a league sin fer a bíad durig nóich mar second sé níriachcin a chai caldamach ni Rangers sé cíhir thuras tíag strehi chéile Celtic go bhí as an tres áte sin céideach ach se Rangers City I hic tre gona farpa sin Yorpach. Fa stúr Eileen Gleeson beat the Giannu sin ní an Ross wi tuv sé bh hása hunnig san hulligint gan tíchtla na bhónig het stre a chéile sin ach operach íana is doch staunrig ach operach íana ririg tésin se kuchok da game rigol to noch gan op er noorsen en Hibs in die jachgin jages koersje nog kupen halla per hin en Celtic ik Tynecastle ik dirig nemias gas City kuchok Iatsen in een dostemaag in u le maar die voeten maar skipper ore en een klacher shri het tevsen en skipper op een je tjine mag ik nille de park jo ik Petershill hier is ik de screen na hagerig hier na haagke bij Michele Prienier is in ha keer na koikach gurukilees en mi klachers stay en dat je Lee Alexander I guess kedder gehold in de road tashimi in de park ha Lorder Revenki gaan je skelle tre ga je gorstig katses farli torsho en dat je nische sin Sikanai Davidson I guess in chia I guess Jones in de shach en dat je clear shine nach puring game gerioch na gaan je lodi fulle te dulu Revenki Varach han ik far Revenki en oi Rangers in Jerry Jachken en Jones hij had zijn letarig van je in de geil wie Hibs in Jerry Jachken ik hoop ik naar Lauren Campbell er is miljarder als je op de chierke Camilla naar Chekischen is skipping a Kelly Forrest de tuchum van Revenki ha Hutchison de tuchum gemi in de park le over in de gorstig sin de Kielkel Brown I guess Thompson go wie knoi Kolik de Goppereen Hutchison is mogen het huile goed de Goppereen in deze zit maar die voeten skipper is in I guess Lauren Campbell ha chili gaan de skipping de Goppereen de skipper Geisen Ross Hardy a reiter van Tycho Jim Stuffies Matthew McAlpines Chris Gentles maar een keer Woffica I guess Carnionach Leimse gil Legion Orange Glasgow City go wie dai Legion Jarake op een van de duidelijke mich kju skipping is Legion het reale chachkesen ach misschien een keer pikkend geregeld in je smie nach bi als je moet nog roeg gelostogen met een Legion as a la haun weet je gramatiek curie skipping nach geneuvers misschien gaan we maar over jaren maar had Goveline Legions de dagen is scoren wie echt gaan het doen. Tyler Dodds heeft al afgenomen de verhaal. Lauren Davidson in hun line verglie de Glasgow City. Ik kijk hier in game hoor je Priscilla Chinchilla is het Giannishin. Goed er deze. Gan y BFA yn olabau. Rated y Jysial. Nir fe, diolch countig yn clwyhydryn. Mystawr sy'n. Goyn y clwyhydryn gyglwnyn. As yn nir fe. A hast ffrwyd gyda chladsir. Sy'n hwnnw sy'n 30 munud. Ar ysyn y mi sy'n ei galaf. Jysial ysdiwnach mae ha. Da gêm yr agel. As yn teisyn. Da gêm yr agel y clwyhydryn City. Ysyn jarau gynnwring aif. City gael cwrt gydol ma. Mae'n ach sport le. Mae gen ffoli ysyn. Gwael ysgol chach. A ti'n chyn yn ddyfylig yn ei far gynnes, Julian Mullen. Gael wych gyrryd siwrs gymryd yn y parc. Fyr o'r Vital Cats. Chilix yn y hwgal. Claire Walsh. Mysnach o'r gilyor yn ei Louise Brown ysyn. Gael lwys yn nôl go. Jenna Clark. Hedol ffadelish. Sfadau ymach. As y farc. Y gyrian. Gofi on the sŵl yn Glasgow City. Ys i hyd le. Y gw. Na neu cwtioc. Lauren Campbell is skipper ik de dans en ook. Alder mach ik jou nille. Emma Blacker in who is corner him. Emma, one feature of the game in this first half may be both the sun is in the eyes of Glasgow City's players and there's a strong wind at the back of the Aberdeen players too. Higsyn i'r asgo yma, a bygynt y rhywblad ysyn, sy'n mi. Chan i'n mynd eich deg i'r eich ysyn, a stoc y fi ac sy'n i'r eich le yma tirach am y tiwchtan. Chan i'n lysam dyn rhywblad ysyn le. Microphone y gem ach gwy fi ac sy'n tirach am y tiwchtan yr eich, cha. City, le jefal yr eich, gael glwysyd sŵas y lani fi eich. Tyler Dodds, gen asgo, mewn y par, Cats yr erd, Cormisho. Ag City, tras i gem, bal gyda fi ein. Tŵchi a cha fôr ag Davidson, cha bwring i. Sŵach y Ciarstein ysyn, ni ffarli fa. Pwchtig i siach a fi yn y parc, y fiach na fi ffeinir cawn y feil fo Priscilla Chinchilla. Joe Glwysyd, Joe Fasig fo City ysyn. Fiach na si fal yn y siach yn y fi ein ysyn, ach o Brains yn y gylior ys o'n ein i'r falaf. Mae'r asgonrin, fiach sy'n ymwyr eist. Bright start there from City. I was worrying about the wind, but if they keep the ball on the ground, then that won't be a problem.
Yeah, it certainly won't. And you know, obviously Glasgow City, this is our home pitch. They're well aware of the weather elements that would affect their game plan. But it was a great opportunity, just in cheer, going down the side of the centre backs and getting her cross into the box. And I think Lauren Davison just was caught on her heels there a little bit, just her first touch later down.
Julia Mullin, Arashko, Walsh. Cats yr eich yn nwchgig sy'n y ffas asyn. Un bi gachwyr o'r eisiau gyda. Le ar y fe jeich dig op yr ein Bailey Hutchison. Dyr yn ar y fe eich gyn eisiau nalt ade asyn sias y dreim. Cormisho. Wel, cha fôr bysiach eisiau dig ogl fi. Chan eich eisiau yr chlwychyd y gi yn y sport ag yda. Fasyn na lech o'r ymstolchyd dig op yr ein. Dwi'n mal ar y chlwychyd yr dach gyr eich, le Campbell. Collins. Sias i ywys i. Louise Brown yr eich. A drat y hwys. So y chlwychyd yr chyn trein fa fi yn y parc sy'n mi fawn. Ili siwr yma ond y chyn fa fi yn y parc. Dwi'n gofod ein sy'n. Chabi fawn gymryd ysgol. Cwy mal ar as X City. Sy'n iach gyhyn. Walsh. Siach gyffwltyn. Morgan Mullen, Davidson coming rwys o loyn isio, he is fine. It's gain, cwtioc, ach o Brain, gyda giar mach na neu mewn y parc. Mali archwyd. Tosio sy'n yn dar nhw ar dy go Brain i fan. Lwch i hyd game i'ch gyd. Neu hybsyd yn i'r iach yn yw siad i ag y fan ar y siach ar i'ch dy go Brain. Archwyd fein. Casyd y fal, les eich gyd grw. Davidson yr eich li eich eich gyd. Archwyd, cymryd y sŵn ar y fal. Fulton gachau hyn olgo. Tyfel yn y parc, Tyler Dodds fan y fal ard asyn. Yr yrd i yw'n sy'n chiach o bar ein. Siedig yr eisiau eich, yr son chic. Ar a siach gyda City. Walsh. Nôl y sioco. Davidson. Cats. Emma City already dominating possession. Aberdeen were doing well with a really high, sharp press into midfield there, but as soon as there's a bit of length in the game, Aberdeen are dropping quite deep.
Yeah, they did start extremely well the first few minutes. You know, you could see Aberdeen had a high line, they were pressing higher up, their starting positions were better. But, you know, as the game goes on and as Glasgow City gain possession of the ball and start to work up a number of passes and break through the lines, Aberdeen are just going to drop deeper and deeper, I feel, as the game goes on.
Gyrís gyda Bailey Hutchinson yn chwrdd Cats fwy'n byd yn y parc. Bal maj yn yr yrd, yn clachers gyda Gymal Loa yn ymach far y lein y Bailey Hutchinson. She's more her tuil goed in het decense. De op er een. Dan ga je kloeg mee in de park en nu is je bal maar waar zo goed ook. Bailey Hutchinson does really well there, Emma, winning the ball back and then playing the ball through. I think our striker was just slightly on her heels though for the pass.
Yeah, she was, and I think Bailey Hutchinson, we're used to seeing her in the number 9 position, aren't we? So she's playing obviously slightly deeper in the midfield role, and she's the one that's looking obviously to feed our striker. But yeah, I think she obviously just wasn't well aware of the pass coming through there. But I think Bailey Hutchinson's been a standout for Aberdeen this season so far, hasn't she? She's our top goal scorer and she's doing extremely well for under 19's national team also.
I think it's 19 goals and not shy of a shot, understandably, with that record this season.
No, absolutely not, and I've been really impressed with her, and then she's one of the players that signed one of the semi-professional contracts with Aberdeen.
Bal mag yn y fost goed. Roard gyda Fat Ciawn. Patterson, who is she? Who is van de Gold dan Patterson? Fijn van de Wallard. Sgwr big siach. Maar we gyda Cwgner. Yn am yn y chwtri. Cwnydyn i'r ffreffesiwn dylyg op yr ein. Ys o'n na Hazen. Diva Thompson y gynnau ar y fwlch Giag. Bailey Hutchinson, Ellie Shore. Jessica Broderick. En dan gaat ze nu kloeg Francesco Ogilvy Kuchok zien hier meegerig. En je gaat gaan nog niet terug in Jachkense. Fulton. Dodds as hij. Voor Dodds keer tuil. Nu op er een. Er is meer gaan niet skip in er deze. Corner of his own. The City. Fulton het al nul Dodds het in Sjachan en Wien Walsh. Hij is klaar koers van de goal maar weg toe. Hier nog zijn halve nog. Al doe Jenna Clark kicken voor het goal. Voor je Hanniksen. Hannik voor Jenna Clark hier reiteren. Kuju. Achter het triple jump to. Mitch het in de push. De op een voor de goal en je goeie ervoor. Kind of a half chance there only at the back post. Aberdeen will be pleased with how they've started. They'll also be really pleased with how their season's gone, sitting in 5th, just coming up to the end of the season.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with them. I feel Aberdeen have adapted extremely well and they've matured as the season's gone on, and considering they had back-to-back promotions and then obviously going unbeaten on SWPL 2 to then game promotion into SWPL 1, they've did extremely well and they've got a really good blend of players.
Cormajo, Farley, Fiachin, Rigo al trafel I as I haast ha. Hij took a pen so goed. Is a bal skinny le mawn va via in the park for Priscilla Chinchilla. Not quite sure ni Farley had any idea how much time she had there, trying the ambitious effort from the edge of the box.
Yeah, I think she should have went for her left foot there actually, you know. She obviously doesn't seem as comfortable on her left foot, but if you just open up your foot you're easily guiding that over the goalkeeper. But that, you know, that was a half chance, and for Glasgow City, especially coming up to the Scottish Cup final, they'll be glad to see Farley back on the pitch and getting minutes.
Seems to maybe watching Sam Kerr's goal for Chelsea from the weekend from a similar position. I think that was left-footed though. Collins, Gagoal Fwy beats Gachal, Molin, Gachur van de goede mission. Patterson lay. Hughes like edition. Brein is putig zo ter weer in de park en is Thompson de goede ruit. Ja, Ogilvich in de jacht verrechtelijk. City rash naar Narvin Kilor geta, zo'n jeliker is een druppeltje van. Mullen nog Kun je in de linie bij Arns, Chinchilla nog die. Leo ruim zo'n jies jontig. Patterson gaat zo'n liente zoals gemeen in de park is. Hij vecht in de gorm. Kasse goed de jacht aan oorzen getas. Schierijnschen. Fully fwy by mi yn y parc. So a wee moment there, just when Priscilla Chinchilla came short for the ball and she had her hand out trying to hold off Donna Patterson. But Donna Patterson said, there's no way I'm following her into the City half and letting her turn me there.
No, there's no way, and I think Donna Patterson there, that's good defending. You know, she's recognised, you know, there's a big space in behind her, there's no way she's not going to follow her in there, and Chinchilla was expecting her to be right beside her and following her there, but you know, it's just a bit of lack of communication from her teammates there from Chinchilla to actually tell her to turn. If she's turning, she's driving at the back four.
She'll know next time to maybe turn, but maybe next time Donna Patterson will have followed her.
Yeah, well, and you know, that would be good defending, because as a striker, you know, and if you're playing against a defender, you're thinking, are they always going to do the same thing or not? Are they going to mix up their game? So I think it's just a bit of awareness from Chinchilla as well. Can she glance over her shoulder before receiving the ball to actually see where the defender is, never mind putting your hand out to see if you can touch them?
Cats. By Tari Garash Bigan is in Eli Short. Chicken Yiggin who had Curran Coon at Lamba Hoodie Coonant. In Hafkinson. Look at Tari Garash Bigan is in. Could Bigan the Vine City. Wavi. Could Kafak in the Hluchachke. Cats are out for Vienna Park. Mitch Jenema get a fat mach for a line. Jenna Keen Jock Kafengishin or Hoshochid. Vital Cats. This real hog. Chilligan is skipping a new. Mullen Nicholas Tuchtje by Peace. Fat ass Kashkilor. Rood hier gewoon Sven van de Waal, misschien kijken Kalara Walla. Archert, Etjenuma. Toch weer Gerashka Mitch. Het kan een forsnokken door het aslisje op één. Archert en die is koorstel. Van de Waal is in, die zou ik kijken. A little bit of panic setting into the back there, but probably the most comfortable one of the lot was the 16-year-old Durham.
Yeah, it was. It was all one touch, wasn't it? And they've managed to work their way out and win themselves a throw in. It was a really good play from Aberdeen, but I'm not quite sure how much it was meant.
Walsh staat Sachontig. Jich naar de Waanjik City ernaast. Dat presseert Chinchilla far fark. Vind ik een koor. Met Jishlikus Chili. Maar laten. Continua onderschach naar Chinchilla vaak ernaast. Groepen kan vallen worden. Ik vind Puck en Koor is een Chinchilla. Puck en Tiech begorken. Er is Bachgegeer gebied tevan. Maar die voelt het nog gemischt naar een lot of huurgeschichten. Goed je van hier nu. Hier mag. It's the corner round. Really comfortable play by Maddie Fulton at the edge of her own box. Not sure she'd have done that last weekend against Rangers.
There's no way she'd have done that against Rangers, no. But you know, she's like looking at the starting 11 this evening. She's one of the senior players this evening. She's got the captain's armband, and you know she's always very composed on the ball. But there at the edge of your box, there's no way we should have done that against Rangers. But no, it was fantastic play and managed to get the ball out her feet and find that forward pass.
Schoilische corner. Nu zie je Walsh tussen haast achter. Van daar Pik Farley. Van Jevik op er één. Kun je gewoon eens hoog. Nee. Zit toch lucht er in City. Dat is nog een City. Ik even gewoon kutjok. Gericht pikken te gekke van de generator is toch. Van Lovely op er één. Broderick Ervik hier van. Bal mag je ook op Billy Collins. Kan je geen water uit er holt in je. Maar Billy Hutchison het al terug weer in de nog is. Kan er een hieke bal dus laten maken Collins is in Giesje. Die er wel lischkel graag. Maar ze hem hassen gloeie. Clark, Gina Machlish, Gar City, Chinchia, Garitirahon, Gachamalich Geheen, Varaka Passanish, Dodd Zagis, Farley here's the line, Viesha Sevilla, and David to the Chin. Putting in your Tarakich get that. Sheening Machikas, Becken. She just can't control this ball, Davidson. She looks like she's stretching for it, Emma, but not that far.
No, I think all the pace is in the cross, isn't it? I think it's a fantastic cross from Dawes. She's lifted her head up. Great area. I think for Davison, I think she is stretching a little bit. I think she's just a fraction too late there, isn't she? She's made a great run up the inside of the fullback. It's just a fraction too late to get her head over the ball.
City Rish er line Viesh, Tusha Rish, Davidson, or a Fufkishan to the sit, or Hurty Rish, Ishanamakata, Diakara. Davidson first nog eens in, kent van de Kassen de Kelly Shore. Fatjache 2 City as a Fufkis. Erin Klachers, a Jean. Er staan Hokal. Jeli Rish geskippelde. Het oude Fufkisje. Reiner Asketa, Hutchinson, Riest, Shakamina Park, Eva Thompson. She is down at Tuchum, going to use in Thompson's Brown, but it's Nick Brown, Haganoi. Patterson, Gakur for Kavakle, Chinchia. Gavin Beef, Junitori, Eva Cushion Haynes, Emma Hunter, Kamasulia. Maar dat tager te de vaak. Zet hem er een goedje gaan dieren. Schakker het achter tussen creëert. Bij een goedje geneken zich hier het fijn. Fakkel kon je naar kloos ik karuur. Ze kloek het nee. Kloek het er naast. Dan is Lauren Davidson. Hoe is er de vaak gekomen gebalde goal? Dat je gaat de kleur nodig het daar ruim. Zuinje is Katz, groeier de referee Davidson Nuchinchia. Katz. Fijner wel de sport goed ook jou Davidson is de schach de rachert. Hier het gewoon meekje, Archertje Makita. Katholieke maakt corner. It's the first time we've seen Davidson just slightly get the better of Archert, although with the struggles Aberdeen are having getting out of their own box, it's not necessarily Urquhart's fault that she's in that position.
No, it's not, and you know, I was actually thinking that because each time Lauren Davison has had the ball, she's had her back to goal, and she's struggled at times to turn the full back and drive forward, whereas there, the play's in front of her, the ball's in front of her, so she's able to drive, and that's what she's very good at.
Baldoin. Tol! Oh, wat colles aan geropen heen, de kiljaar aan de jelige is, ja, gaan ik het rij. Gaan ik jou de Vital Cats. Ik ga er asje doen gaan, ik ga schachen de lien. Hij is een goed Glasgow City hier hoog. Alia J. Mitch, kun Gomez kan hier over de hand. It looked as if Aberdeen had enough bodies to that back post to deal with it, but somehow the ball just finds its way to Vital Cats' head.
Yeah, it was a fantastic delivery from Maddie Fulton. You can see Cats, you know, she's just drifted to the back post, but there's almost 3 Aberdeen players in front of her, and she just drifted behind, and you know, it's a fantastic header. I think Cats is possibly one of the smallest on the pitch, but you know, she was really determined there and showed bravery.
Aberdeen are bound to be disappointed there because it just needed one of them to just take responsibility for it, I suppose.
Yeah, and I think the player closest to her was Hutchinson, and you know, Hutchinson is a tall girl. You know, you're maybe thinking, can she jump a little bit higher? Can she get more on it and put Cats off? But you know, credit to Cats, she's done fantastically well to finish that.
Vital Cats, Lishe, Kach of Tolke, Ike. En het is een keer tol als ze in SWPL, daar een tol mee op een gitaar, weer een deze zit. Rundig op een frikker schors in de sport. Alderwel mag de volgende park. For Cats tol, hoe is aan de briechen, daar gaan je het als niet hoe, rasjes en having. Jichtje hoen. Ga je op een hoe is meer wat. Nice City, er is een geheeld in je, we zijn er als ze vaarst. De store visual, meer een jacht in je de vijgen in de kloegje ter met Navaris. Campbell heeft heel de waaltje niet geriest. Schapwring een Shach. En de Wien. Evarok. Op eens. Nog goed erin niet. Ach, veel wink. Veel korm. Veel. De fijn te germ. En een goed chicken. Misschien pikken naar een goede heen. Beetje nog een team met de visiet. En die vijgen een jaar terug. Dat de show is toch nog niet eens een uur. Maar het. Vijgen de kloos het gaan hier pikken. Goeie die hier verversen ten is. Eens nog een keer met een jaar terug. Wat mooi. Dat wordt er weer de skipje ook naar zijn tik. De scoutje nog lappen. Nog een beeld in de ga. Fulton. Nolga Clark. Dat is meer nog ook. Dat is de manjolige is. Hier Pleonde van Noogkie. Van de brief scoort City er zijn hier door. Mollin. Kats. Hier hoort het wel. Virginike. Chinchilla. Ja, met naar de bal heen. En je kindje naar Jenny Shore Kalish. Bal eentje naar gezin voor Kats. Ziekemag. Gaat hij terugvallen want de lucht gaat hier goed bij Kusser. Ziekal graag. It's not an uncommon situation for the game, I suppose. But City are clearly just so dominant at the moment. Aberdeen are really struggling to get any possession of the ball whatsoever.
Yeah, they are, and especially given the starting 11 from Glasgow City. You know, they're given obviously the personnel's changed a lot, but the philosophy and the game plan hasn't changed. And I expected Glasgow City to have the majority of the possession here this evening. Given obviously they're at home and obviously they're obviously sitting second in the league and they've got the Scottish Cup final to look forward to. So the players that don't always start in the starting 11, the likes of Katz and the likes of Farley coming back from injury, you know, they'll be wanting to stake a claim in the starting 11 for the Scottish Cup final, because I'm sure Eileen Gleeson has got an eye on that game, of course, in preparation of it.
And all these players, you might consider them fringe players to some extent, but all of them will think, no, I am good enough. I should be starting these games.
Yeah, I think so, absolutely. And I think Tyler Dawes has a fantastic season also, hasn't she? Coming into the fold in the starting 11, and you got Erin Clackers in goals. I'm sure she'll probably be in the starting 11 due to the cup fixtures that she's been participated in. So, and it's important for her to get 90 minutes, I feel, this evening. And we'll see who plays for Glasgow City on Sunday of their final league game. I think that will obviously have a big impact also on who our starting 11 is.
Davidson. Fulton, Ries, goed konstellen vallen. Zijn unieke loren, goed ook. Katz, fashion. Wat pak terug, goed zitten gorm ga. Francesco Ogle, wie fijn je valt te go per één. Eén pie goeder. Clarke Schinsbal in je ras in de dons. Zo is een live glie, Lauren Campbell, skipper en ook. Het pak een ruim in je heen. Goed zit, er al af. Gaporgi. Kus in mee eens toch, hè? Ach, daar zit Kerskelior, Megan Foley. Terug de klacht tegen Magazaatje. Enterprising play from Aberdeen there. Campbell seeing the opportunity to go the overlap up the wing.
Yeah, I think Megan Foley's just switched off, isn't she? She's unaware of Campbell making that run on the outside there, and you know, this is a great opportunity for Aberdeen here. You know, they've got fantastic aerial threat in the box, especially with Donna Patterson.
Patterson, I guess Broderick and Ish, who was van de goal. Terugvallen van Kata. Zullen we het corneras? Gaan we het corneras? Korm. Keiltjes in. They debated it. Patterson went up, eventually Broderick went up as well. And the ball never really made it into them.
No, it's disappointing if you're Aberdeen, especially obviously in a dangerous area, just outside of the box. You know, get the ball in there, whip it in towards the goalkeeper, put Glasgow City under pressure. And as mentioned, Donna Patterson's a fantastic threat in the box, in the opposition box, and get her on the end of it. But it's extremely disappointing.
City, Ries is vallen dus via nu op de Suez live. Juist, daar vallen er vaak. Ga ik naar de Gerash. De bal haak Jori. Van je lekker eentje. Fyrtje nog eens in bij. Komt via Roeun Jounis. Arte de Vark naar Varliach. Femi Eichkes. We worden hier nog een valde goal voor je. Patterson. En dan goed dat 4 laatje, dat was vervarmd in de grond wil je dus dan was je voor ze waard. Richting de Dons, ik ga met Parks in een stuk. Geval Model Stadium. Mollen. Er is alleen niet Chia nog gegen gewoon is in de weel. Ries, Roland Glie. Zal de City Wies en Durus ik het op. Chinchia nog kijk, Gemollen Ries, Davids in de vallen van Magzewaard. Chinchia kan goed geruid, nog eens door Kats. Er wel William Tinchin. Molly Milliard gaat kan goed gemaakt. Elisore Karari, tot de hoogker, ga ik het de laatste weer goed gegooid hebben. Davidson Kassen. Dat is een remoren aan de zin. Davidson brought the pick first nog. First glance, I didn't think there was much in this. I thought Davidson just lost their footing a bit.
Yes, I thought so as well. I think obviously the Adam coming across has puts her off. But again, we see Davidson actually facing up the fullback, and she's much more comfortable in facing up the fullback and taking that player on as a 1v1. The first occasion she done it, they won the corner, Glasgow City, scored from it, and here they have a free kick in a dangerous area.
Fulton goes up. Doen vergaan ik. Jenna Clark koos van de goal gaan aan. Lauren Davidson van Quillischel. Keer James kan jij hier. Davidson gewoon geschwaard die Jenna Clark bekomt. Het was de goal die Holletje stoken. Achter ik Davidson le. Gormeen. Patterson. Het Haringsuur ze wordt pak first nog eens kujokach. Persin vugig te op eens. Waar ik had hem geen kujok. Easy geef ik. De hoe niet persin gewoon 3. Zeg project het al hoe is het niet hoe is het misschien op een of zo. Maar gewoon niet je verrast nog wie kloeg. Ik games kan het al kloeg is een game. Maar ik ben niet veel niet toe ge. Er game met lessen hoe met gewoon hier. Sure, Rurt. Walsh, it's in no. Sun City. Walsh, golf. Galar. En ik vind jullie ja, voetback hier gezien. Sure, kan wel Kats verhalen. We terughalen we zijn. Ach, het hier op voetback water horsje Louise Bruin wat kujure cheese Michael waar Walsh er toe klaar kunnen heel willen. Zeggen we een Kats. Skillige nolke Dodds. Pas nachtig op brief van minute. Haar opbruggen in Brussel. Dodds gaan we een ja. Broderick is naar Schaarsters en een geval af te op eens. Ogilvie. Misschien nog een keer in de bal gaan we liggen heen. Kassen nach. Skipper ik er hard schachert. Dodds riest. Gevaarlijk. Dodds die jacht in Campbell. Tony Kasseneke, dolgen de lijnen, ach Broderick. Het is in de nul, Tors Teich, geen skipper, maar even te Kiori. Ik heb dat Dodds. Zo'n klein waanje. It's a nice wee nutmeg, but Broderick does really well there, covering over to the fullback.
Yeah, she does, and I think you can see the threat from Glasgow City in the both wide areas, isn't it? And when Tyler Dodds and Lauren Davidson's actually facing up the fullback, they're getting joy from it. And so for me, you'd be looking to feed them the ball and get them on the touchline. Can you feed them? Keep driving at the defenders 1v1.
Chinchia nog eens kiniekig Chinchia der Patterson naar Gatjag. Shot er een keer in Klagers. We mentioned the changes in City's team. I think it's 4 or 5 changes, 4 changes I think in total. Is that one way maybe of trying to deal with any sort of disappointment, a wee hangover, not from a defeat, it was a draw against Rangers, it was a reasonable performance, but just the inevitable feeling of disappointment having surrendered the league title?
Yeah, of course it is. If there's going to be obviously players sitting on the bench, the likes of Haley Lauder and Lee Alexander, of course they want to play every minute possible in a Glasgow City jersey, regardless of if the game means much more than what the game did on Sunday. So it's always good as well to get, as we've spoke about, the fringe players, the players coming back from injury, getting the minutes on the pitch. How do they actually react? Obviously giving up the league title, but you know, they've still got a lot to play for coming towards the end of the season. You know, they've got obviously the last league game on Sunday and the Scottish Cup to look forward to, and I'm sure obviously the preparations for Champions League's already begun, and what players do they target for next season?
Kishwara shun kitaraf teniat sa vinyorte med de mahesen. Shoes a leine. Karanutta dakhlig the Rutter Collins agus Thompson and Ish in the Ertlish get that large at the re wall shown. Shan Lickalish go Raska Clackers Ryan Yishin, Eva Thompson, Magri Rushin, Kogta Yishin, but Dazen say Chagin Yagin, who had couldn't. Good powerful run by Eva Thompson there.
Yeah, do you know, I've actually been really impressed with her so far. You know, she's doing a lot of hard work off the ball, but when she's been in possession of the ball, she's did extremely well. There was a number of occasions that she managed to link up with Brown. You know, she's playing in that number 10 role, so she's obviously just looking to cut off the passes to Maddie Fulton, and so far she's doing okay. Again, that's one of the young prospects that Aberdeen have brought through, and she's obviously signed that semi-professional contract also, so they obviously do value her as a player, and it's obviously one to look forward to in the future.
Yeah, they've asked a lot of her tonight because she's trying to support Brown, but so often when they're deep, she's really deep as well, and then trying to bridge that gap as best she can.
It's almost like she's actually man-marking Maddie Fulton as well at times, isn't she? So anytime Maddie Fulton's...
Oh, Sarah Clackers! An den jeken je sin jele gerish, Eli sure of avlish na de shigere cool agus Clackers fenne laven in de valle, gammele mache genoorsen, gewoon. De tuchtje me zeggen de lie niet geheen. When you cleave back a canal, Erin Clackers got that for week in your I think she had for a moment just visions of herself and the ball ending up in the back of the net there, Erin Clackers.
Yeah, I thought so. I think to begin with, you know, it wasn't particularly a safe pass from Glasgow City into the middle of the pitch. I don't think Katz was actually wanting it there. I think she was actually drifting in there to drag out a player, but you know, Ailey Sure, you know, she switched onto it. It's intelligent play, trying to catch Erin Clackers off her line, and she almost did. And I maybe feel that Erin Clackers made a meal of it. I think it should have been much more comfortable for her. I don't think she had her arms fully stretched out, did she? She wasn't expecting it.
She certainly seemed to be slightly caught unawares, but
yep.
Aberdeen have done that since the beginning. When City have just been a little slack in midfield, they've been very quick to pressure them and try and pick up the ball. Yeah,
they have, and we spoke about that, didn't we? That they're playing at times at a high line, they're wanting to press Glasgow City, and I think you can do that on this pitch, particularly here at Petershill. The pitch dimensions, we speak about it all season, they are obviously smaller, so you do have more time to cover the space.
Sure. Hier Rivalen. Maar is Dane in Durse. Aske Broderick's en al van de skipper Campbell. Billy Hutchinson. She's more couldn't hold give. Patterson. Voortbekend de Gavakis in. Nu Davidson Junior. Patterson nog eens in de knieën zit go. Niet farlig, geroesje nul knieën. Kalarashich geskippeld up. David Thompson. Jenny van Oppers in de reach. Rash, meer in de park. Weet je Rash. Molin van de Valard. Via een vinger reach geta. Collins. Tweede los kan je vanaf. Melier gaat lekker lish. Dollemag. Toch zat de zeggen van zin bij vier wie Billy Collins erin. Ja, Acoustic City het erheen. Ja, mooi echt. Toch val van zin. City gaat first nach fein as Lischach. Met de Chile is die gekast haast. Maar die voelt hem via misschien niet aan nu. Mallory is going Aberdeen. It's another just slightly slack pass from City. Jaden Clark that time playing it square across the back and not getting it to feet.
No, and you know Aberdeen are well aware of that. As soon as Glasgow City are making that slack pass, or the pass is obviously too slow, they're pouncing on that, aren't they? They're obviously recognising that, and again it's great work from Eva Thompson, but not only Eva Thompson, I think Brown's done extremely well, also coming over it and squeezing the play into that corner.
Alfred. Kasnik Hutchison. Zo nog wel een rasch kutjuk. Alfred Kuskava keer de bal is zeggen niet meer dat. Die keer nog kijk. Is toch een beetje annulish. Hurricane hier is het. Zit hier rasch getar Billy Davidson de sport getar. Chen we operichten. Ze vakel Davidson. Foibi. Reetje de torsu laten erishen. Davidson torsu die use reetje. Sloot toch een keer die Cassens Alfred. Rasch de bal. Hassan Garricher. Brownike nu. Brown is hier reached. Jenna Clark ook al reached City. Op er een via niet die gamle City. Als ze leeg heen. Kunnen we lekker low klootje maar groeien restlich. Hassan Garricher. Molin geta. Mogelijk in de gondelste van. Ja, ik heb een werk unie hierheen in de Russen. Waarom in de Ruitlisch? Roard Farley. En ik ga Megan Foley. City making slightly heavy weather of it coming out. In a situation like that, Clark's coming out, but there's players maybe not properly showing for her and also slightly blocking her off in a way maybe.
Yeah, no, I think City's midfield are not wanting to get on the ball. I think at times they've been static. Cats have been static. Farley's been static. I just don't think there's enough movement from them. And when Clark was on the ball there, Chinchilla had already made a run. But Clark hadn't seen her, hadn't lifted her head, and if she'd seen that run, you know, Chinchilla was in. I just think at times Glasgow City have been poor the last few minutes in possession, giving the ball away too easily, and that's down to obviously frustration as well, because you've seen Megan Foley raising her hands there, such to speak, who wants it, and obviously when you see a player doing that, or your teammate doing that, it filters through, doesn't it? It has an effect. So. And you can see obviously the reaction from the bench. I've seen Leanne Ross out a few times and she won't be happy obviously with how they're performing at this stage, but I just feel there's a lack of movement at times in the middle of the park.
Jessica Broderick. Schone wel te Aberdeen. En het kan ik ze meer. Ik heb enkel precies Chinchilla Roash kunnen. Weet je ik er acht goed heb. Precies Chinchilla van Cooper. Nu heeft zich genomen. Davidson, a little Urquhart. It's been quite a good wee duel that actually. The 16-year-old Urquhart up against Lauren Davidson, who's had a great season. Repaying the favour maybe for a couple at the other end of the park a moment ago.
Yeah, I think for me, I think Lauren Davidson's actually just really frustrated in her own performance so far, and you can see it. At times she's lacking a little bit of confidence, and that's just...
Oh, tunnel! Donna Patterson, who is for the goal to Aberdeen. Fijn naar de bal is ja de vuur is gaat maandelijk jou naar Lekas. Gaat voor daar in Klachers Kalianov. En dan is je niet Patterson is een duel op één. Rash Koyunen. En we hanten er mooi. Kevin Beath zien. Tilling is dolletje. Patterson is een darne touw. Ik is je deze. We would expect a goal from Donna Patterson to be with her head from a set piece, but she's done really well to finish this.
Yeah, she does. I think we were raving about her, weren't we, in the first few minutes of the game about obviously her aerial threat, but you know, it's a dangerous cross. It's an awkward height, isn't it? Like any touch on it can go anywhere, and I think Donna Patterson's obviously the first to react. You can see obviously there's an Aberdeen player in between the City players, and I think they've obviously put her off, and it's allowed Patterson to come in. and slot it home. And for me, it's not something that Aberdeen don't deserve right now. I think they've been putting a lot of pressure on Glasgow City the last 10 minutes or so, and they're capitalising on Glasgow City's mistakes, and they've done extremely well. They're pressing with a high line, their starting positions are good, and see, we spoke about the frustration from the Glasgow City players, especially with Lauren Davison down at the side here, giving away the free kick in the first place.
Yeah, there's a long time since City put any pressure on Aberdeen's back four, particularly with their passing and with their movement. So that does give you a chance to get back into the game if you're not feeling that pressure at the back. Gives you a bit of optimism.
Yeah, it does. Your back four, you're giving them a break, aren't you? And you're giving your midfield a break, especially if you've got your forward-thinking players. You know, they're putting pressure on, they're pressing Glasgow City, forcing them into mistakes.
Dodds kan dus gelijk maar Dodds zakken Chinchia City vieren wie Frikkersteen geskippelde gaan het huilijk op er een. Maar goed vieren wie fijn Gunnisho, maar goed gehoord. Bailey Collins, Hapuringi Pulach. Slightly better from City. They're looking for that immediate response, of course, but maybe not particularly convincing with the ball into the middle, which has been through previously as well.
Yeah, I think Glasgow City have struggled with that, haven't they? The balls into the box, and as I've said, I think Glasgow City have got to get Tyler Dodds on the ball, get Lauren Davison on the ball, and rather than Lauren Davison drifting in to play, take her down the side, you know, face her up 1v1, do what you're good at, be confident, being confrontational. And you can see obviously how deep Chinchia is dropping in here. You know, she'll be getting frustrated that she's not getting touches of the ball, and Glasgow City will be obviously wanting to finish the half in a positive manner. They'll obviously want to win, obviously with the lead, but we'll see how they react. Obviously the next few minutes will be important, especially for Aberdeen. They'll obviously want to keep it at 1-1 and get into half time. It changes the team talk for them,
or even sneak a second, who knows.
Who knows, because they've done extremely well so far.
Peter Fiach in Kuju le de keer minuten 3 minuten gelegen hier te Herakel. Koken niet geil te hier game en dan City in deze zit. Dus in de berichten maar hoort me. Colville, Farley, Katz, ja, zeg het Philip in het huilen Larsen. Steek je heun man. Hier is de show. Nog een niet te zwaar stuur ook alweer hier tel. In de eerste ga je op een horsje gelaten. Het Noorse de Tsjechische station. Nog bigger on the east in the park. Walsh in the Ertlish. Taking room for a Yechi. Fiach een fiscal wat in de PL Noorsen. During her Mahurka Cats from Hassashin. Get that. Stad. Farlike Dodds. Hoe keer ken ik. Er is meer gegaan in dat skipper. Davidson. Chinchia in de Wien. Molin op pixel toch genoeg kijken. Er was ruim aan bij Jonah Gelienig. Farleyschen. Johnny Maas en Noshan. Van de corner. City. Hier nog Johnny Magariru. Hier is Richelieu. Kan morgen ruim maken voor een opper gegeven. Baalland, ja, maar die vult in haar. Lauren Davidson wel een herigje, cool Eline. Vult in toon. Klaar, ik heb het je niet zeggen gehad. Maar we zeggen er goed in je kata. Ik kan voelen lekker licht. Julia Molinari. For a Farley nu position, nearly sure what pick me or should get a chess over the wall. This Thursday got him. A Farley feinier in the east. Mullins, Farley, Karakamich, Lichelishin. There's been a few moments like that, hasn't there? Mullin and Farley there disagreeing who was at fault for that ball being given away in midfield.
Yeah, I think for me it's Mullin at fault. You know, you're just defending a set piece. Mullin's the deepest player, and Aberdeen are squeezing out, and you're not going. That's just a silly pass. Farley's obviously coming towards the ball. Your centre backs have been up for the set piece. It's just a crazy pass into the middle of the pitch, especially under pressure like that. You've just got to take that touch out your feet and then just play it diagonal in the opposite direction, you know, and turn Aberdeen again. But yeah, I totally agree with Farley why she's having a go at her there. There's no way you want that ball in that area, especially when you've just been up and attacking the corner.
Mullin. Castell Chevaleries niach amach, al brein graag niach, haf Chinchia come in the Dovlish geta. Chinchia in the Fufkes, Gayarigash, Gi Gavor. A Katze Chinishachs, a Katze gave up in a Puchtig, she Bailey Hutchison, Vacalentin, a Rash for in the park at that, so we'll have no order. Mullin, the Fain, Hunishin, or Hosher Brown. Sir Hilly Clackers, a Kahukimach Gafarli me in the park. You should have Hutchum get that. Svenny Kahukimach. Or son, Sat the Shach. Handel should a new Vunian Varak. To be Ictiri here, Leisure, or son. The chicken and rakel, honey. And a few shin on. Hier Clay Shachat Maha. City, a high at Horshocks on the city of Alavanoka. Or so here darn the lit. Get a here Clay Avision, can you vital cats who would tell me Yerik? The say Och Minachin Chiak. Had the Gruy hit the machine of Horman, a Havine. And if I caught Lauren Davidson the ball of Hoodie Shach for the slacht, the Amach. Van the line, the ball, Harrison and Tarshan, Yakuk shit the Corum. Donna Patterson until they to go up at fair for Yerik. Hier Clay. Hij gaat hier voet in de winkie. Ach, zie hoe until de go per Fijn, kas. Het server is schach gaan een boksen. Het torst. Korm Clevant de go per Zet de Jenna Magariru. Ik liach slie zo. Ik Pieter Silmahash. Niet le Glasgow City le until. Hij is op het heen. Until mag je zien.
Tá fleiste Derek agus am an na hinach beas in adas sa darna le ach so nada shocking I cléúne a nach cashing it all harsúl is skide in yer hua agus a showy neach gahanach amach go be skip a bodanich opering a dol le profession tas nam di chach cashing it harsúl is program sorryte ha dolsen skide ha fiegen die clownien a vrosnike goosbal kosche a glich. Get nach heel statenust is fastball caution in ban en nalope, e feugna duge. Een program en as servachelle agus as taringiche, a huv adem en ag ide tashichi. She feest nun gemmichen beke, a wie a galaatje a hulletje donich, ag parke wie karamike aan de noppereng.
So the Community Trust took this on from the North Regional Girls Football League around 4 years ago now. So it's grown arms and legs. It used to just be 2 pitches, that's all we could really manage the teams to come along, and today we have 10 pitches over 2 hours, so around 40 teams coming, which is great. Before that it was David Silcox. I think he needs a big mention really in terms of how he got everything running, from when I was younger at primary school, and he ran that for around 15 years. But the Community Trust took this on, and it's really embedded in their football programme now, and weekly they have staff members dedicated to this every week to organise the festivals as well.
Ha urus koiersnach oppereng, het was immerig het go kutremach, sa haan ko paartjekes, het er at heen, komend balkosje na halpe, balkosje en banen halpe, agus klubbe balkosje oppereng. An de wie fijnke klubbig en ele, het vegne skieren, agus wie het was kormgai, paarsig als een program.
So that's massive in terms of the partnership with the Scottish FA, in terms of with Joanne Murphy, working together with her, with the Scottish FA in basically going to the clubs that are already established through the SWFA, and then being able to bring them to Corant Park here. So that it's one big thing has been the partnership is a massive one between the Scottish FA, the Aberdeen FC Community Trust, and also the joys of getting to use the actual training facilities of the first team, which I personally don't think many other clubs would allow, or it does happen. So we're really fortunate up here these things get to happen.
Bij komend balkosje na halpe, haast het tors teicht is een uris, agus ek een naam a koop het quality clubbichen, agus coachichen valet.
The SFA's role in here is really just to encourage the clubs to participate in the activity. We support club structures, so in terms of those player pathways, which is crucial, so potentially identifying gaps. If there's new teams, so we've got 2 new teams coming in today, that this will be their first ever festival, which is fantastic, and then we really support the coaches and volunteers through coach education courses, and just genuinely being there as an area of support. We also support the Community Trust. Obviously they're our partner in terms of football activity, so if they run girls only holiday programmes and girls activity, we support that as well.
Yn sior sy la hawn, bu clybich yn fwyd ffygyn i'r hwyr y fain ewlus, stalkers an y hir dwyd, and bu y clych gemich yn colodus na cochlach ydyn agos carach yn achga. Lys yn rwtys cwtrimicha, gyfeil y game y cor to dwyd.
So we've obviously got the luxury of having a big area for the girls to play football in. So we've got the under 7s, which is 4v4, so that's our 2015 and 2016 girls, and then we've got our under 8s, which is 5v5, and that's the 2014s as well. The Community Trust also organise the under 10 activity, which is 7-a-side, and teams play kind of all over the northeast, and they organise their own games. So yeah, a lot of girls playing football, which is great. So probably around 200 to 300 girls here today, which is fantastic.
For me, from the ages of 5 all the way through to, I'd even say adult football, it's got to be fun. If it's not fun, then they won't come back and they won't want to play. So if it's fun, enjoying what you're seeing today and all the volunteers and coaches that are making it fun for them, then they're going to keep coming back and they're going to keep playing right through until adulthood. So yeah, really important.
Dyn y chwtchichen, grwn yw'n amparant yn cwtioch, sy'n y gemich yn bega ac barca fi caramag para fel tolachas an fi clich gegem cw cwtrymach, yn tosioch chi a biard on yn ian yn oca.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, that's what it's all about. It's all about fun, and I think in this day and age, it's kind of taken them away from that iPads and getting them out and about. And I think being in a team environment is really good for the girls. We've got lots of really good friends, and we do lots of stuff out with the football as well. So it's just great to see.
We stay in Peterhead, which is about 35 miles away from here, so it takes us like half an hour to 40 minutes to get here every week. But when you see the girls and how much they enjoy it, every girl here committed 9 o'clock in the morning, early mum and dad's out their bed. But it's when you see the amount of girls that are playing, and just it's what it's all about, is it? Seeing them have fun and enjoying football.
I think Cormac Park's a great facility to kind of host these kind of events. As I say, when I started playing as a young girl, there wasn't these opportunities. You would never have seen this amount of girls out playing football on a Sunday morning. No, it's great. It's just really good to see. My own daughter kind of plays in the game as well, so yeah, really enjoy it.
The girls, you see them when they come and they see the badge and the car park, and the facilities are just immaculate as well. Really good facilities. That sometimes when we're here, we see some of the Aberdeen first team players, and even the ladies' manager's been down before. Watch. The girls really enjoy that. Maybe some of them don't understand it fully yet at the age they're at, but in future when it comes, they'll be like blown away. Because I'm blown away just to get the opportunity to take my girls here to play. Because we're big Aberdeen fans as well. And love the club. And when you see the facilities and that we get the same facilities as the Aberdeen first team men and ladies get, it's just honestly exceptional. It's really good.
Chanil take fawn gyfili fi y clich an y nacha colach di parca fi caramag ag ys chwog y dod corym dyn y nianan y fi y smyrnichwch gydoch ag yn bwryngai yn la y fi'n an clichyd bal cosio profession ta.
It's fantastic. I think, just coming here, it gives such a buzz that you sometimes see them and they're coming and they're going, wow, I can't believe we're playing here. And yeah, I think obviously the environment's key, and they're coming to a facility where they're coming in, the goals are set up, they can see the role models that they maybe go and watch on a Sunday training here, and they can replicate that. So yeah, it's fantastic for them to be able to play in such a fantastic facility as well.
For me, absolutely, grassroots football is absolutely massive. If we don't have the grassroots football, then we don't have that Scottish team doing well, qualifying for the Euros, hopefully for more major tournaments down the line. So it's unbelievable the work that the volunteers do. That's one thing we need to really, and the parents that getting them along today, and probably obviously encouraging and inspiring the next generation of children and girls to go and maybe step onto Hampden Park, or whether it be Cormac Park or Balmoral Stadium for ourselves with the women's first team Aberdeen. So it's absolutely massive, and the as I said, I keep going back to it, the grassroots game is so key and huge, because if we make better players when they're younger, or players that are going to enjoy it, and at the start you're going to get better players down the line, as simple as that.
Agus dyn y nian yn oike a sgir yn ier hwyr, a ha gamas y driach mar clychyd bal cosio. Se jewrwt a hawn gyfel sgipio o breng I dash if barpes ac yn either as archer an yn alopa.
I think it is absolutely massive. So for example, I'm probably in a fortunate position where I did a little bit of work with Joe in terms of with the Scottish FA and the regional squads, We're now seeing the likes of your Bailey Collins, Bailey Hutchinsons, Eva Thompsons, all these role models now who were 9, 10 in these girls' shoes coming through now, and in the first team. And now girls, I know, for example, I've been at a few of the games and some of the girls are going, and there's just that huge inspiration for the next generation as well. And then if the first team are training here, the women's team, then it can only mean there's opportunity. That could be me. That could be me on a Sunday or whenever it is at Balmoral Stadium or at the Cornwall Park here, that is going to play for the women in the first team leagues.
That's something that Emma and Gavin have really hit home. I think that, you know, those girls are role models to the next generation. The girls can see them and they can see that visible pathway, as you said. You know, for some of them, they do want to be a professional footballer, and for some, they want to play with their friends. And here, you know, this is an environment where we can encourage both of that as well.
Dyn y coaching agus na parentin, stiach fi effectin na skipien agus na niananach y giwsgig mynd ien an yn aring o chwt taichgal, agus fi fain corym y mysach geheen iddo iem a hort siachad.
Really, really good. Football's been my passion all my life. I played for around 20 years myself. And as a mum and as a coach, I just thrive on seeing the girls and what they're becoming and the opportunity they've got as well going forward.
What I love and what I preach to my players and parents is that trying to get the girls to fall in love with the game like I do, you know, and like I breathe football, so it's when you see how much the girls are starting to enjoy it, and even the relationships you build with the girls, you know, like you turn up for training and the girls are like, oh, hi Sean, you know, you like buzz off that energy, you know, but just seeing smiling faces, kicking balls, scoring goals, just that's why I'm involved, that's why I love it so much.
Joe Hull, sy'n creioch y chwyd sy'n acordri coaching yn y ffein ni dŵr yn eich eir. Iad sy'n y coaching ni clonig gafeich yn y clwych cwrnyd Hull sy'n dyrch lam a hafi ach gymwy i'r y ffarc. Ha hiad leir fi glema y Georg Peter Schill, ha Emma Black has Coldrum. Emma, certainly for about the first 2/3 of the first half of the first half, City were well on top. They didn't create many chances. They should definitely have gone ahead there though.
Yeah, you know, it was a fantastic cross from Tyler Dodge. No, she's lifted her head, she's played it in first time. I think Lauren Davison, we spoke about it, hadn't we? I think she's just a fraction too late. You know, she's made a great run, she's did the right idea up the inside of the fullback. She just hasn't got enough over it. They
did take the lead from a corner, and you know, the more I see it, the more I think Aberdeen are going to be really disappointed not to have defended that at the back post, but Vital Katz finishes it well.
Yeah, she did. I think you can see, I thought there was actually 3 Aberdeen players at the back post. There's actually 4. I know, and Katz has just drifted in behind, and she showed such bravery there to get her head on it. But Aberdeen will be extremely disappointed with that they've not got someone on the end of it.
That was what, 18 minutes in or so. City were dominant at that point, but they didn't really build on that. They allowed Aberdeen to really get back into the game, to put them under pressure with a bit of slack passing, lack of movement, and you know, Aberdeen were there making the most of it when they did make mistakes like that.
Yeah, and you know, they're forcing them into the mistakes. You know, Aberdeen are actually wanting Glasgow City to play it into the middle of the park. As soon as they play it into the middle of the park, they're pressing them. Fantastic pressure from Ailey Shore, and just her awareness there, her game intelligence, just to obviously get the ball out of her feet and lift her head and see Erin Clackers off her line slightly. For me, I think Erin Clackers is actually taken by surprise, isn't she? She looks like she's flapped at it a bit.
And in this one, Clacker stays on her line. It's not a ball she can really come for, but she'll have hoped that her defenders in front of her would have dealt with that better.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic delivery. You know, it's not that awkward type where you can't get your head on it. Any touch from a Glasgow City player could end up in the back of your net, but I think obviously there's a little bit of confusion. I think the Aberdeen player is actually taking Walsh out, so she's on the ground. And could that have been a potential foul?
I think it maybe could have been.
Yep.
I'm not sure Donna Patterson would let you get anywhere near the referee if you were going to try and take that off her. She was delighted with her goal, and Aberdeen were delighted to have got back into there. I mean, the wind's not as strong feeling now as it was. They had it at their back in the first half. Do you think Aberdeen can come into this second half with a bit of confidence and think, you know, we were dealing with the threat well in that first half?
Yeah, I think there's no doubt about it. I think, as we spoke about, the last 15 minutes or so of the first half, Aberdeen played extremely well. They were forcing Glasgow City into mistakes. They were wanting them to play into the middle of the park and pressing them high, and they've got joy from it. So they'll obviously went into the end of this first half with a lot of confidence, and I'm sure the coaching staff and the manager will obviously be saying that to them as they come out for the second half. However, the other changing room, I feel that Irene Gleeson and Leanne Ross will be extremely disappointed with their players' performances. I think there are a few players out there who are extremely frustrated due to the lack of movement. Is it the lack of game time for some players also?
There's some coming back in the team. That wee girl's idol there, Priscilla Chinchilla, has been pretty isolated. She's been left coming deep for a lot of balls. There's not been a lot of interchange between herself and midfielders supporting her from deep.
No, and she's obviously playing in a different role this evening. She's usually out in the wider area, so she's playing that number 9 role, and we've seen her on a number of occasions actually wanting to make that run in behind, wanting to peel off the centre backs, but Clark, Walsh, Maddie Fulton, they're just not feeding on the ball. Like, for me, you'd be looking, she's extremely pacey. You'd be looking, can you obviously turn Aberdeen? Different obviously personnel playing up front, different obviously way of playing. Get the Aberdeen players turn, get the ball forward.
It's 1-1 at half time. It's not a game that means much to either side. City know they're going to finish second. Aberdeen, they're not certain of 5th place, but they're not, they're feeling fairly comfortable in mid-table no matter what happens. It's important though that City pick themselves up in the second half, get rid of any lingering disappointment from having relinquished the league title, and move forward looking towards the cup final.
Yeah, I think for me there's no way Glasgow City will be happy with this obviously first half performance so far, and obviously when you pull on that Glasgow City jersey you're expected to win every game regardless if it means much to the league table in terms of changes, but there's no way that Glasgow City will be happy with this, especially being at home. Yeah, of course it's the second last game of the season, but regardless of that they'll be wanting to pick up the 3 points.
Eileen Gleeson making a change, Abby Grant coming on. Not sure who's going off quite yet, but a familiar face in these parts, a really experienced player, and someone who's maybe still trying to prove their worth again to this team, having rejoined.
Yeah, I think for me, obviously when they obviously re-signed Abby Grant, I thought she was going to go straight into the starting 11 because her performances down south have been extremely well, but I think she's picked up a few niggly injuries and it's obviously hampered her as obviously the seasons went on. But I think for me, yeah, she does have a point to prove, doesn't she? Obviously bringing her back. She's obviously played in big, huge games before, previously when she was at Glasgow City, her first spell, but she'll actually be disappointed also that she's not played enough minutes.
Abby Grant it, Vital Katz hier. Dus op een aan de jaren getol van een live is, een live glee City. Slint in orange jacket, tot van een live glee van een live is. Hij gaat samen geschoven, maar dat is een goal. Abby Grant de goal vaak wil gaan wakken de zin. Kiri Tashtaram. Nevrier in Nietjenberg is dat ze gaan aan obvious change there with Katz going off. Abby Grant, she's a striker, she's gone straight up front. Chinchilla dropping a little deeper. Maybe just a wee change of formation system from Glasgow.
Yeah, I think for me there needs to be more from the middle of the park for Glasgow City. They don't have that creative player in that number 10 role. Obviously Hayley Lauder's been that go-to player this season. She's on the bench this evening, so they do need that creativity in the middle of the park. They need that movement. They need someone who's willing to take the ball in tight areas and drive at the Aberdeen players, and we'll see if this change of personnel actually works for Glasgow City in a positive way.
Sure, Rees skippelt tegen de Walischen mee in de park. Hutchison, Chinner Kuchok. Ska gaan we vallen Lauren Davidson. Hier uit, Karm Shock op erin stoken. Hij wil roat eruit, raakt daar Bailey Collins. Shin couldn't arcade de skipie City, maar wat toch wij nu naar Russian Grant naatje Katz op erin, maar wat is hier het Mios nog eens in. Nach Tjechachker. Brahagol er werk op erin. Ik City. Op erin gaan in Rashmi in de parks. Aberdeen showing in the first couple of minutes, Emma, that they're still trying to do what they were doing in the first half, trying to capitalise on any indecision, any slack passing from City into the midfield there.
Yeah, and it's working. It's Billy Hutchison in the middle of the park again. You know, she's not scared to put Glasgow City players under pressure, and also when she gets the ball, she's extremely composed and she's comfortable in possession, and she's looking to thread those passes through.
Baldermach, Hanalev, Yesh, Dodds, Gargishach and the Fufkes in Isht. In the Fufkes, Faradashin, Richard Chia, Rashka Grant, Tol Gabi Grant, Weisenach Jasht, Marvik Dur. Narahandi Kabal Rashike, Grota in the Merak Sibi, Akshe, Pristia Chia, Lishada, Faradashin, a Gruig, in Korma Vision, Gabi Grant. It's learning 3 minutes in Shachandarnilé, a City Rashid Hoshok. Maybe a touch of fortune here, Emma, but you know, it's an enterprising effort from Chinchilla, and Abby Grant was always going to be ready and waiting if it broke to her.
Yeah, it was. I thought initially Tyler Dodds has wasted the opportunity again coming inside, but you know, Chinchilla's obviously just dinked that over. It's almost like a hopeful ball towards the Aberdeen goal, and Abby Grant, you know, she's standing. I thought for me, when she'd taken her touch, I thought she's missed that chance, she's missed the chance. I thought the Aberdeen player was going to come in on top of her, but you know, she's been composed and she's slotted that home. And obviously, beginning of the second half, you can see Island Gleason's got that right so far with the 2 players that have switched and Abby Grant coming on. It's worked.
City are 12 tries in Arnile. We've got 3 schijven hier. Schij het mooie pakken in de oorschen is hij. Dat is een toekeler John is gedaan. Dan Davidson gehaald. Fulton in 0. Jerry's fantastisch. Hamor Berraini, Miss Giri in the Vile, as you know, I think she's enjoying that number 10 role, isn't she?
Yeah, that's a tremendous effort, and it's something that Glasgow City have been lacking in the first half, wasn't it? That creativity and that number 10 role, you know, willing to get the ball, drive, create an opportunity, and Chinchilla's certainly stepped up to the plate so far, and that's a fantastic effort. Again, it's just obviously narrowly coming off the crossbar.
Dodds. Fehu, Smerig Howl, a Foley Chi, Beach is hold on the Pashin Kadava Tyler Dodds. Kavak Torvarak, the Glasgow City, is Narnia show. Dodds. So nu pick and roam je heen, op er eentje nog een lekker lei, daar Biachin. Chinchilla, Davidson, Grant, Hika Hichgericht, Hanai, Norm, Donna Patterson, Chinchilla Michael Skyn Mach, as a Vufkus, Kasavach. Dodds er een rash geta. For Louise Brown of Rash. Van Francesco over Google me, she vegan. Isn't hier reaction? Grant, de Kjaun. Rashke Foley, Rashke Fulton, the skipper and ook. Is there a bit more urgency about City in the second half?
Yeah, I did expect him to come out a different team in the second half, and I'm sure there would have been a few words exchanged in the changing room, and it looks like a different team.
Gemanis G, the hele Shuklukjake. Pass maybe was a bit long and Abby Grant had drifted offside, but Eileen Gleason's applauding that clearly. You know, maybe asking them to go a bit more direct at times as well, instead of going wide quite as often as they did in the first half.
Yeah, going wide and then looking to come in the picture there and narrowing the pitch up even more. So we obviously seen Chinchilla looking to make those runs in the first half, and the players were missing that opportunity, and it looks like obviously Eileen Gleason has noticed that in the first half, and she's obviously made her players aware, you know, try and stretch Aberdeen, get the ball played forward.
We should probably get the Vitel Katzischen, the cool Eileen Gleason, but the cool Augustin to us alone it. Naar een Nokiaake. Gavin Beats. Emma Hunter. Brigitte Olink. Klaas en Darnley shows zij. Wel kujon riest. Bekend koik in de net in kaunere. Leerslie. Beget er zijn hinemax. Kuus nog eenmaal. Gia nog terug. Nezatje. Dan ga je achter in. We zijn Darnley show. Zat eentje nog een versmaak riest. En is gevaas kunnen we lekker. the City Cormillain as a Naicherach. Shouldn't be Sichke. There has Chinchia Gata. Beat Fake Loch. Davidson. Chontig. Skrunner Pshachat. Iran Tarakic. Hanek Chinchia Renner. Iachin. The Nuarat Gata. Patterson's Broderick. Kachlucher Ashter Kola. Ikahu. Patterson Gayach and Huzaline. And Brachtoch de Geri. Shot. Tuckerstad. Ore. Riachin Rert Shinley. Eva Thompson. You see Louise Brown. Tuf. Char Walling. Look at the GN City. Patterson. No, so you see Hutchinson. Farlier goal in the Fulton Leicester City. Ach, Davidson, Gainer Ash for Abby Grant. Davidson nog goeie maga aan de berg reteren. Kijk naar Bishop, Bjerke bij Lauren Davidson naar de Rouge. Het wordt als je op de Tjerke Geusje aankijkt. Johnny Klima's en Darne game ik het op één. Ziet je, ik het doen en wat de Lauren Davidson. Hij pikken waar ik zullen we gezien hij is Darne Davidson. Zit ik man is Giedige. Skjoris toch, Farley. Kusunje. Ervalischen. Kusunje gaat Broderick voor een Rashieke. Nolko Molin. Molin dan is hij. Want ik kijk, wat je nog zin wil eruit. Als zo aan je gevier in je zin, ik heb nog een kale schach. In de wien. Are City doing anything different tactically or in terms of the shape, or is it's more of an attitude thing that's slightly different?
It's an attitude thing for me. You can see obviously the players are much more determined. They're obviously taking care of the ball better. Their passing is much more slicker. They're passing it to feet and they're not being careless in possession. And you can see the link up that Abby Grant's already made, being in that number 9 position. She's obviously looking to link up the play, and you see it in Chia's movement in that number 10 role as well. You know, she's looking to drift into the pockets of space and move the Aberdeen players out.
Fulton, fine corner. The City. Shaheen Goasa. Walsh, Kakachin Suez, Chia, Gayak in the Shach. Mitch, Genuma. Clutter in Gilor McCorstar, Nurpich in the Shach of the Munach. Aliaji Mitch, Genumashin, Marlene, the Mach van Tarshin. Chinchia certainly looking sharp in the second half, but Mitch does really well there with so many bodies around her.
Yeah, and I think for me, she's only Aberdeen player that's actually switched onto it, wasn't it? You know, she's reacted extremely well, fantastic save, and it all comes from Maddie Fulton's awareness over the ball, and she's obviously made aware Chinchia and gave her that instruction to turn.
Cormisho, ik Chinchia is toch Ganegi, Chontig Mirigal, Ganegi hier ter Peshavaraka, Farlier, Gamelishin Kata, Grant, Chinchia, Johnsonish, the Corm, Hangel, Cornerelle, if his own Campbell. Kan goed maken, skipper en nog. Cornerelle, de Glasgow City, Niempi erop een keer in raast. Fulton is hier onderriest. Doen Clark, Corm zo haast Chia, hoe irvalig. Balter van zijn fijn. Als het jongens in de goede schach. Ganilian, Jenna Clark, ik heb vast goed gedaan. She's always going to be a target, Jenna Clark, given her height in that position, but she struggled to really do much with the header.
I don't even think she has to jump there. You can see obviously the way she's headed it is headed down the way. I don't even think she has to jump. The ball's coming straight to her, but again you can see who's reacted to the second ball. It's Chinchia, and she's extremely lively, and she's obviously she picked up the player of the year, and she's been their go-to player.
Grant, Gastad, is je vraagt toch voor een Davidson. Chinchia certainly had a fantastic impact in this season. Do you think we'll see a lot of changes at Glasgow City over this close season?
Yeah, I think so. I think Eileen Gleeson will want to put her own mark on this squad. You know, the majority, if not all the players have already been here before she arrived, and she'll obviously want to bring her own players, her own personnel. She's obviously had to work with the players that are here. Given that, she's done extremely well. She's obviously got them to the Scottish Cup final and managed to gain that Champions League spot again. Was that the 15th consecutive season? You know, that's quite incredible. That's a lot of pressure on its own, isn't it, to try and maintain that. So I think for me there'll be a big turnaround of players, given that they're going to have the investment that the Old Firm have, Glasgow City. That'll be a big question as well, but knowing Laura Montgomery and Caroline Stewart, I'm sure they've already planned ahead for that. You know, they're not going to sit back and watch the Old Firm trying to take over, considering that Glasgow City have
Hutchison.
Domestically, you know, they've been the driving force for women's and girls football for the past 14-15 years, and they're not going to sit back and watch the Old Firm trying to take that over.
There's an effort from Hutchison a long way out. Do you see it as a blip or as the proper end of an era?
I think
hard to tell at the moment.
Yeah, it is hard to tell, and the challenge was always going to come, wasn't it? I mean, the road to Storeham last season and still managed to get their hands on the title, but that was obviously Celtic and Rangers' first season going professional, so there was obviously a lot of teething problems, from the Old Firm. So, you know, Glasgow City, I'm not sure it is a blip. I'm sure they'll be much more determined and obviously still want to continue and try and be that driving force domestically for women's football.
Aberdeen is gewoon met de raad de liatsen kavi. Keri aan de jaarst vanuit kavi. Klachten zeer graag is niet huiken. Rutte skipje watcher me gehoorstaren. Farpers een goede dan vanuit. Tegen maar weinig verder niet huiken. Nieuw van me hier. Eens dan die United is in zo is goed ook niet. In de Premier League er naar heesen. Rakker is skipping on orange. Quickly can use ours to Chinchilla. Patterson, larger, dus je nu ziet maar weer toeles in die region. Abby Grant. Kaya staat, Farley kan je rasje City kita. Foley kaskelig miekens kita. Other Mullen negus Walsh co-jäger han. Maar porin kita de Bailey Collins Callian en wacht. Quicker Suez die gaan hier in klagers. Walsh. Niet zo'n te gerwaalde kutje, kan je Louise Brown lekker lijken dat. Voelt hem voor Iberisch meer in het park. Mullen. Marco Clark, Matriek Shee en Noorsen de Vereniging Gorm. De makkelijks van de goal. Abby Grant in de rash. Kan je leeg geheen in Noorsen. Gaan we. Bruin horst graag, Farley ook al niet, Orrefuukes. Davidson, Grant Lient in de wal, Schachernwie en Jones, Viachenwie, de Jariraashike ach. Magic Kalas, Virgin va, the City of Noorsen. Took them a while to work out for the back, but it was good patient play from City using both sides of the pitch, and Abby Grant doing what Chinchilla had to do in the first half, come really deep.
Yeah, and with that crossfield pass from the centre backs from City, that's something that we didn't see in the first half. It's rather than trying to play it into the middle of the park, try and play that 5-yard pass and put your midfield under pressure. There we have obviously Jenna Clark and Walsh looking to obviously get the ball diagonally switched, and it gets Lauren Davidson turning against the Aberdeen defence, and it's obviously working for them now.
Achert. Kolpaket de chance Shinchik, Nagaro at the Valach, very aslish and Yekere. Billy Hutchinson, the Kiri Silver Epishin. Through ik awaited it as a Garanike, maar wat fuse Garanike, Hookie Suler, Kerskelo. Stoch aan de dag is de cage gevangen Kalas. Clark, bal through Agerson. One is zich geheen, Krushen through a Kujok. Beach Stroge met de weg, Gapurni Kalianov met de hier tol, Njon daar de tol, Gaharich met de Burgi weer. Kalian Wishnur, Pichinchia Hanik Farantashin, so huge squad begrant. Shore. Up to Lane heen is hier het kan het al licht gemaakt. Mi geentje shin. En dan is een persoon is goed. Eva Thompson is shin. Geri lekker leg al eruit wat nog is genieke Francesco Ogel wie hoe is goed jokker. Dan Eva Thompson va koren passe goal silmiger dan hieke va shore games. Dan gaan is goed Davidson er al even glie Urgert as hij J. Ga er wacht gesat de schach. Urgert riest Janik Leva. Just a promising moment for Aberdeen there, but just a wee breakdown in communication, Emma.
Yeah, it was. I think she should have kept on driving with the ball herself, shouldn't she have? Early Shore, we've seen her do it in the first half and get her shot off. Now she's managed to cut through Glasgow City's defence. She's just her awareness. I think maybe the player on the outside of her had actually put her off shouting for it, whereas she just allowed her to go. She's obviously made that drive and run forward. She's already broke the lines.
Corm shot. Mitch, gaan mee hier, gaan we de maak. Lauren Davidson lish. Plaatje ervan, le Davidson in de vuurtjes. Van de laven, ik Mitch bekken. Schachen de lijn, Sa City. Voorstellen is 3 heen naar Hoschach. Schach, minute, figet the goal as a game. She's been coming into the game a bit more this second half, Lauren Davidson. And it's a reasonably powerful effort, but Mitch will be disappointed not to have kept it out.
Yeah, I think for me the goalkeeper's got to do better there. She's managed obviously to get down, but she's just not strong enough to push it away. But the link-up play again comes from Chinchilla in that number 10 role. You know, she's been fantastic this evening so far, and that'll give Lauren Davison a lot of confidence. I just feel she was lacking a little bit of confidence in the first half. You know, nothing was going her way.
Goed told Chia is een league deze zeggen Davidson. Ik shot toch op één haast. Van Klaggers zit allemaal geschakeld. Van online weer schikken. Magewoon het in de schach voor Eva Thompson. Kan ook al rode vuurtjes. Should as well here getting the shot in Thompson, and Klaggers does reasonably well to save it. On another day, it might have been more challenging for her.
Yeah, she's obviously hit it extremely well. I think maybe if she got a little bit more height on it, or a little bit more direction either side of Erin Klaggers. But you know, Erin Klaggers is, you know, she's not had a lot to do this game, but when she's been called upon, she's managed to match that, and she's obviously her concentration levels have got to be extremely high in games like this when you're not put under a lot of pressure.
Aardige de går per een inisht. Arif 3 heriget het al Louise Brown er tor ruich tor close at the end of who's going to lay na Lauren Gordon. Ichinyet na hatchese. Brown yet Gordon I guess it chit goeder nog Glasgow City Ichinyet Maya Bates Ichinyet en natje Tyler Dodds. Bates vallen van al gonna live glee City. Doin in de vuurtjes. Schach er holt in de schach er. Count Davidson er al maken online via zo. New role for Lauren Davidson coming to the right side with Maya Bates going in on the left hand side for City, Emma.
Yeah, I think Lauren Davison will actually prefer this on the right hand side because she's much more comfortable going on the outside of the fullback. We've obviously seen her up until obviously now that when she's been playing on that left hand side, she's always wanted to take her first touch in the park, and then that's when all your players are. You're obviously then not getting comfortable possession of the ball, whereas here on the right hand side I'm sure we'll look to see her go down the outside of the fullback.
Campbell. Zoals alleen. Chili erop rijden dus gedaan. Chinchilla Galakal. Illy Shore mee in de park. Shore's game maar weekje. Fancy gietje heb tolijn. 50 train van in de park van back in the net fijn. Kassesjach gematriek. Oersemi van City kar. Truglische fast kar gauner en harake jacke van Shore as jy. Shin fair vooruit maar weet in de shin Caribbean Chinchillas. Shin goedje machine. Ik over die City schach de bal reached. Aberdeen are still putting a lot of pressure on the ball in midfield, where City haven't really looked comfortable tonight. Is it maybe one of the weak points in the team this season, City's midfield?
Yeah, I think we spoke about it off air, didn't we, Derek? That
I did prime you for that question, yeah.
That yeah, obviously in years gone by, you know, Glasgow City have had big players in the middle of that park. You know, they've had the likes of Suzanne Lappin, Joe Love, Leanne Crichton, Leanne Ross, Denise O'Sullivan. I mean, the list goes on and on. So they've always been extremely strong in the middle of that park, and I think for me this season they've not been as strong. You know, they've had the likes of obviously Maddie Fulton just coming in. You know, she's at the start of the season, she actually wasn't a starting player. She didn't play as many minutes. Obviously Jo Love then picked up that obviously horrendous injury, and yeah, I think they've really struggled in the middle of the park. You know, you've seen Hayley Lauder in there. She's been their go-to player. She's obviously had to step up, which is obviously something that Hayley didn't shy away from. Absolutely not. But in games like this, you know, you're expecting other players. Can they step up to that mark? Can they put on a performance in the middle of the pitch? And for me, yeah, it's something they're lacking, and I'm sure Eileen Gleeson and our coaching staff and Leanne Ross will be well aware of that. You know, they obviously possibly already pinpointed targets.
Corman Shaw, Abby Grant in de trailing Farley's a tall, ik Abby Grant. Die is aan de zegenmachine, gaan je Abby Grant, het al je nu kus de werk. Gaan je pillige traintje erbij, ach mijn Farley gaan maar weer in het park. Garo, ach nu moet alle heen van de vrouw. Ik Abby Grant. And she's enjoyed the second half so far, Abby Grant, but it's a great pass from Farley.
Yeah, great driving run from Farley from the middle of the park, and Abby Grant's just taken a touch out her feet. You know, as she's done that, she's opened up the goal, she's lifted her head, and you're always going to slot that the opposite side, and she's took that extremely well, and you can see how delighted she is. As we've mentioned, she won't be happy with the amount of minutes, or the lack of minutes, sorry, that she's actually played since coming back to Glasgow City, but she'll be delighted now she's on a hat-trick.
City gekozen is er ook keren hun. Tjie hun woonlijk in de is meer gegunnig in daar skipig, maar een mikra bij op rij nog eens naar Chica. Gunnishen, ietsje. Foley, toch had er een schach, Chinchia, Chinemachieke. Grant, Kujoka Glosity, Lauren Davidson, waar het heeft. Davidson, a Casgli. Erin via gemeen, hoe is er vaak dat? Bal als je wat er Hoscher Lauren Gordon, had er even nodig. Zat de schach achtersen. Gemierige deze chin, kan een hele skipping in die jakken ze beschinje, zijn gemierige kan de Celtic en de Rangers gaan heel. Uit de goal tegen de game sinds wie vingen er even doen stoken. Ach. Hang honig counter, met een haarskipping is in de kunje hoog. Die game zijn bioakin. Vesken is hapen. Is chegin. Naar de game te hoorscheren nog championship nem vet even jagen. Het Brionins ergens Queens Park hier de game gaviakin in de heich. Is met naar de game mak in de strijken. Vesken is hapen. Klager zitje in max. Chedekrishin. Hier wat konstel. Dat is normaal echt getoelig met een jurige sport. Davidson gestaat, terug tussen Gormel Lauren Campbell zit in Woepen. Maar Foley er al schachelt er action, pikken de Vjarnischen. Davidson ergens Foley via Milienix, want Davidson mag er ierischen. Voor je kassen de walen, ze kolen in het horsje gerukkelijk er op er een. Voor je mal als je de skippen gekken. Ogilvie terug. Het puchtig van de waal, Carferis dus. Ik hoorde die Priscilla Chinchia en is Kujok Selmi is zij hier voor recruitment. Pakken is torrig uit. Is toch nog wat ploeg het hallichtje. Is getoilen Noorsen. Zo hees in de weg met de second. Hashinke King Joch. Rolandischen. Farley wou naar Hanneke Schacher. Shit, de goeie erin op er een. Wel een check of me in. Ogilvie. McCown. Hutchison. Oh, Gahard Schacher pas terug. Was een juiste show. Achter wat vastgeloren. Farley toch een vastgerizin. Wil je ook lekker lis allemaal. Voor vrijdag Farley. En ik bal was in de regalas. Chinchilla. Gewoon stellen vallen. Jimmy Davidson in de jury is in Kata. Mach Le Broderick. I'm checking my notes here, man. I think these are maybe Abby Grant's first 2 goals of the season for City. I don't recall her scoring certainly, so she'd love her hat-trick, wouldn't she?
Yeah, of course she would. No, I don't recall her scoring either. But yeah, she'll be wanting to play the cup final as well, won't she? Of course she will, you know. And will she stay next season? I don't think she will.
It's a big question, isn't it? Yeah. I suppose lots of factors. In terms of the cup final, you know, we saw Claire Shine having to go off for City the weekend. Dodi Filipidou's not in the squad tonight. There's maybe a slot there. She nearly got her hat-trick too, but you know, there's a chance there to come into the side and pick up another medal.
Yeah, and I'm sure obviously Eileen Gleeson, our coaching staff, they'll be wanting to see a reaction from the fringe players, from players that have not played many minutes. How do they react in terms of they've spent most of their time on the bench when they obviously come onto the pitch? It's all about the reaction, and she's so far has had a positive reaction, especially coming on at half time and into a game where the first half wasn't extremely well. Glasgow City didn't play well at all, so there've been a few words exchanged in the changing room, I'm sure, and I know we spoke about that this game doesn't really change anything, any standings in the league table, but when you're obviously playing for Glasgow City, you're expected to win every game, and you are under pressure in every game, regardless of what the outcome is going to be in terms of the standings in the league.
City Lishwaler East, Grant. Eigenlijk Fulton when je maar ballen in de Davidson, bal Kullerstoch, Farley in de chagger on. Maar een beetje vast goed, Hanegi het Fasker, Davidson, it's in the machine. One thing we've seen more in the second half, Davidson puts the ball in the box. It's Farley who's trying to get in the end of it. Bates from the other side, and it seems to have been a bit more opportunity for the likes of Farley to push through from midfield. Yeah,
I think she's playing higher up. I felt in the first half that the midfield cats, Farley and Fulton, were maybe playing too close together, weren't they? It's almost like you could put a net over the 3 of them, whereas now you can just see Maddie Fulton's playing in that almost that number 6 role in front of the back 4, and she's not really manoeuvred from there, and then it's allowed Niamh Farley and Chinchilla especially to then go and break lines and push forward, knowing that you've got that security of Maddie Fulton staying.
Chinchilla, Patterson, Chinchilla, Coog, Minich Gia Krigol, Nish, Chickniga Varrock. Shrug Peters Hill. Give me Hinilla Noch. A Celtic, a Cloich Hearts. A Hamilton, a Cloich Hibs. A Partick Thistle, a Cloich Nice Spartans. A Coig Pink in a Yeriger up the range. It's a Diavach, Supper Range, a Coig, a Vach. Martin, how we had Nochus. King Halley get Nagame up the range, Gamolig Spartans, Nagame Yerigaka. Pull it in your alarm. Farley illegal som dörvrep. Han fått det goal. De woningen de fufkes. Durf Jilikerish. Hikaga Clark Halor. Nick. Walsh van Noorsen Merig. Kunnen bal tuchtjem. Hutchison vier linjer fall af. Fulton, agus Davidson gopra go cóma ach. Maar Jerig le Hutchison i fiachan vi brisig siachatore oor fól i'r falach ar ymach. En gewoorde de week gemeen een paar tor op er in fiachan fan huas genui, gaan met Tygri Browns, Thompson zich hier les. Lauren Gordon is narnele. Ogilvie eigenlijk. Ga je bal. Chinchilla. Wat mij een beetje skijurike kassen. Hij deed het bloos het maar. Hij is een bal die gloedje met een wijk jurik herschiljoor. En de klaar gehoord Chacha Dries. Hij is niet die gemaschen. Schaas heeft gekassen. ball gachluich for rated it, machine be mal rash go Aberdeen. I mean the chora mach gebrisiglich geta. Patterson er sure. Bekken is achilish. Garash gaan de hole geta. Williard hurt goal suahig. Gachluich mach. Who's er al glie. We were talking before the game, Emma, that it's a disappointing season for City, but they've only lost, what, the one game in the league? They've only lost one other game domestic, I think, to Celtic in the League Cup. They certainly don't want to lose a third game and a second cup tie to Celtic.
Absolutely not, yeah. In the league they lost that game to Rangers, and it just shows you how close they actually were to the league title. And I mean, if you think on it, like Glasgow City have only lost one league game this season. They've lost out on the title, and yeah, looking at the cup fixtures, there's no way that they'll obviously want to lose another cup game, especially to Celtic. And you know, it's disappointing for Glasgow City that they haven't managed to get their hands on that league title again. However, we spoke about it at the top of the show, they've still managed to get Champions League football again, finishing second in the Scottish Cup. And for cup games in the Scottish Cup and the League Cup, it's not something that Glasgow City have tend to been very good at in the past couple of seasons. I think it's maybe 4 or 5 seasons they've kind of a struggle to get their hands on the trophies. So of course they'll obviously want to get their hands on silverware, but they'll be looking at it in terms of they've still got Champions League next season, and obviously gaining that second spot in Scottish football is fantastically well, and it's all down to the hard work that Glasgow City have done in the previous seasons in Champions League football. You know, managed to get to the quarter-finals on 2 separate occasions. I mean, at that time that was huge for any team, especially obviously playing in an amateur league at that time. It was fantastic, and obviously it just shows that all that hard work over a number of years in the Champions Leagues obviously gained in their favour in a way, hasn't it? That they finished second and are still getting Champions League football.
Donna Patterson uses skinny sin Chinchia the duur geving iets Michael Lorre. Donna Patterson. I only find Casken of all of in what ik in it. Oorn in de Rachsele te Kumigi it Hummus Van Hikke. Haitianish and Patterson. Bal doin. Mag goal. Clark, Nicholish, Golamach. En Engie Piloch. Jimmy Van Wyk. I guess hij laat hem koken. Wat is again? Cheva. In Oregon City. We zeggen als je Afrika Jazz. Hoe het er kluutjig met de naast tussen maar een second. Davidson. Dus gekrant. Hier is Davidson geen rash. Ik zeg Chinchilla toch gaan vast goed. Peter down Kuchok gebal. Riamach. You can tell the Aberdeen players are probably starting to feel the pace a bit. Second game in a few days. It's been a long, hard season. They're struggling to get there a bit more now. Yeah, the fatigue levels have certainly set in for the players. You can see in their body language, you know, once they're making that burst and run, they're then struggling to get back into position. And against Hibs on Sunday, that's still a tough, very tough game for them. And they performed extremely well in the second half in that game. They had a lot of possession in spells, so that would have taken a lot out of them. And then obviously especially travelling back from Livingston to Aberdeen and then back down midweek. You know, these girls will be at school, college, university, work. Hutchison 3, a gaan erachter zoals. Gierig ze smeenig, ik kan hem gaan weg, Billy Hutchison. Je gaat het heel getezen. Maar je klimt ach, waait gierig. Wat bekje? Argen te hagert en raas vissen de korm. Waait hier wat bekker horsig Jenna Clarkison. Huisen uit terug. De goal en schach daar. Op een in de tager geta. Ha Bruce. Agus Sopel. Uchinier Geisen, Natasha Bruce. Agus Nadia Sopel. Uchinier, Etolia, ha Eva Thompson. Agus Kuchuk. Ogilvie en Duvse. Jessica Ogilvie van Lafs. Eva Thompson, Kuchuk. Dijer, het is een DJ. Op een is er 3 achter in de jaren. Patterson. South the Shachele. En dan line die eerst erop erin. Foley, 4 minuten te gaan neerzetten. Hopelijk ga ik gewoon naar Duri. Campbell er glach gegen de Wales en Broderick voor een beetje nodig en Sties naar huis. Wij vechtgelach skuren mag je keta. Geen rasch kunnen skipperige. Zie je nu maar kujak zo se wie. Had je gegen maal pulok keta. Lauren Gordon sa City le karmenish prishigore. City ateen tegen de wahre genisht. Tegen de kluthen. Zo ik kijk Keely Mitchell. Mitchell selectie hier. Foley, de City. Davidson. Campbell er is in de man naar huis. Van Kasten de Wales, staat daar. Gordon gerolleerd, toch chin is aan chin. Nicola Jenna Clark van Schachat daar. Walsh. Aardige Jean in de naast me haar. Keely Mitchell, de junior. I guess Claire Walsh. Dat al je. Keely Mitchell. Nog kunst hier toe. Glasgow City. Debut echt. Junior. Ik goal. Daarna Claire Walsh. Man is low. En Walsh is in. Foley. First nog een vind je Campbell. 4 gaan je naar Bachta Mitch. Tillige stalletje. Nach rushen. Iets hier weer een haraketje. Megan Foley er daar al een in deze zin. Dan kun je pakken zijn hoofdpunt en hij toppen hem aan. Groei kritchen ze mee heen. Geven die shit dus tegen Rich mee. Broderick. Hier met een keer goal. Wat er een nog is, kunnen er even de lijn show. Wat er two game Horske City get ha kusen de goal. Er vallen worden pikken is naar Lia show. Kan we zo stoppen. Bal in gaan wie maar is Karmau niet hier. Al hier gaat, ik is hoor het naar Pudding heeft Ascent hier is in Bailey Collins. Can Kus round you, she does well here, Collins, to get the corner because there weren't really many options for her in the box.
No, there wasn't, and she made a fantastic run. You know, she's still willing, obviously, to coming towards the end of the game, fatigue setting in. She's still a willing runner, still wanting to make an effort for her team.
Jenna Clark is sturig genoeg in is. She kloeg er jou nog mee in. Een paar keer in. Klagers Jenna ma. Als je een gevoel van het hasje niet hebt, dan lach je er al in niet. Kusen in de week savage in de Narnia show. It's good handling for men in Clackers there. She's not had so much to do in the second half. She's been pretty quiet.
Yeah, no, she hasn't. That's what we spoke about previously with her, that your concentration levels have got to be extremely high, especially when you're not called upon as often in a game like this evening. And she's did extremely well there. As a defender, you're wanting your goalkeeper to come out and be commanding of your box and take that ball out there, and she did extremely well.
Maar beats Jenny Martian, City. Bal mag yn fi ein, chymwr y falaf. Cormac haas toch op er een keer falaf yn ysg. Cormac y brisio cwtio cyfil. City safel yn ysg, Clark i Jayla Garish. Archard. Archard er east. Op er een terug. Gol kust de fasien misgegelen. Abigrant. Reiner Ash sy'r syrfyr bechosnig. Y City. Davenach, de sloan is een goal. City is een heurwerp. Gemierig ik kan hij in decency. San de bal goed leven is de kloeg naar Hibs sloan is hebben. Tynecastle naar Celtic. De koers nog kupen halappen. Gemierig er bij al lucht en ten jacht heen. Ik ga doen als ik nog een oogks. Die chach het tref. Davidson. We zien waar goal heen. Unieke lorig gerval kutjok op een hartelpikken. Gejarger Ash. Gwabi Grant van Gorma onder zijn hattrikken. Ga ik haast hier nog zeggen derval geta. We gaan vast huwelijk. Cheva viagen hier hon Eli Short hier ook huis gekend in de park. Oren Gordon viagen met John de Gershon. Kus chimigel er geta. Jongens die waren le Kelly Mitchell. Farley, Goffoli. Davidson vindt Horgen de Walen is Chinchia Trinivien. Mitch, kom maar vatten mag voor de niet geketa. City in eruit de east. Die zag Jewish Chinchia. Machlish geta. Davenach Varak Gavirakin. Emma, I'll ask you now. It's not been a vintage performance from City. Aberdeen have played quite well, but who would be your player of the game?
She came on at half time, and for me, she's changed the game for Glasgow City, and it's Abby Grant. I think her link-up play has been extremely well, playing in that number 9 role, and she's managed to get on the score sheet on 2 separate occasions.
So I've been thinking about that last chance that could have been the hat-trick a few moments ago.
It could have been, yeah, but no, I think she's done well. You know, it's almost like she's got a point to prove because she's not played as many minutes this season. And I reckon probably more likely she will be returning to her home team at the end of the season. So she'll obviously want to finish on a high at Glasgow City and have a positive impact. And so far this evening she's done that before only coming on at half-time.
Abby Grant ma sa goed er game, maar weer Black. Gaan je in Nation. Precies een check lima kunt je ook snel lekker zo'n beetje begloosje. Is zeer goed. Oh, die klopt van de Wien. Arven center forward. Pakken de steen in de oorsen. Arven tegen, maar dan gaan ze het als ze laag houden. Arven tegen op er een. Hutchison. Want wat ik een skiën is. Zag er een hezen guys en die is karmachos toch ik op er een. Gaan die pilach. Bal de rear vallen we zien. Nadia Sopo. Naar de Shakji guys in de Hanik van de Wenki. Oren Davidson. Nog een parakjes game maar zo niet. Mitch. Of had hem van de lijn niet. Maar hij hier weer terug. Sweeper keeper Clevaantje. Eli Shore. Vijf misschien een rash. Swanjima. Shinianu. Hutchison. En Klachers kwam Chiknigagi heen. Het is nog pik en dik in de rakelesse game. Chinchia. Kachamelgi heen. City. Kamelgi shachad er een jeesje noorsen geta. John Patterson. Toen mag hier geen maar week John Patterson goed joh. De hoeren natuurlijk op er een. Ach verkeer. Dan gun je zijn. Glasgow City. Ik en hij. Dat is geen beheerig eigenlijk. Het is een show. ag Peter Hill. Si had si de bar marvig dŵn, Eileen Gleeson. Gwar laf, Gavin Beathishins, the coachiele Aberdeen. Abby Grant, Iari in game, gwir y bwys ar llwyfr y game. Fe'n da hwyl, as yn darn y segi hi'n far y fe'n gi. Vital Katsu hwyr i hier tol gyn y game, becain y gw. Se joch yn y giag, nummer sy'n. Lauren Davidson, chyn y siach yn y game, barak si hwyr. Presto, gen ysgr gaif. Se gyda Donna Patterson, Aberdeen i chyd y siach, ag liach slia. Tol Vital Katsu, chyd o'ch yr y cwl sy'n. Yn y geintach yn y clos yn eich pas ffwr hair gol ffwr y siog Peter Hill nog ys ei grien efo charge na bereiche. Ach Cats Grant lys i gas Davidson yn y tøl dy Aberdeen agos Donna Patterson lys yn y tøl dy Aberdeen. Nog Kelly Forrest y skipper ecke nach dŵr yr y farkysyn mae Jyrig ach City tolig tje y 3 pwynt yn ein ys ei y 9 pwynt gyfain y fawn. Ik Jyrig Hachkin, Emma Hunter, ik op er een goed jakke. Breel Ivory Eileen Gleeson. Zijn naar Achkes in de kloos het bekker weg kunt Jyrig Deesen. Hibsen naar Hachkin. De Glasgow City. Is Koepen helpen Noors naar Celtic. De op er een. Nou topper de mager wist dat ze geen Jyrig Achkes in Deesen. Ach ik heb maar wie Achken nog. Groot makkelijk haasgetaak. Glasgow City in de bar. Kere hun. Zo, ik Peter Hill nou op er een. Ik heb drie avansen. Game. Gaat bij game roveri avan as he het le. I'm a black has corner him. Emma look back at the goals in the first half and City were probably well worth their lead at this point. Lauren Davidson had missed that chance. They'd been in control and it was a simple goal in the end really for Cats, a good finish.
Yeah, it was. City started the game really well. You know, they were on the front foot. Didn't create many opportunities, but they had a lot of possession of the ball, and then obviously Aberdeen forced them into errors and pressed them higher up, and Aberdeen got joy out of that. Obviously won the free kick higher up here, and Donna Patterson was the first to react to bring her team level into the game, and at that point of the first half it's nothing that Aberdeen didn't expect or deserve, so you know, when they obviously went into the second half full of confidence.
Donna Patterson actually had a great game. She got that goal, but she had a really good defensive performance in the back for Aberdeen as well.
Yeah, and I think for me she certainly helps her team a lot, and it was a big signing for Aberdeen to take her away from forfeit at that time, and with obviously knowing Donna Patterson, she wanted to play SWPL 1 football, and she felt that going back to Aberdeen allowed her to do so, and she's done extremely well, especially helping with the younger ones coming through at Aberdeen.
There was a bit of a change game in the second half. Abby Grant came on at half time and it didn't take long for it to make an impact. A bit of a poacher's goal this one, but you have to be there in the right place to take it.
Yeah, and as I've mentioned, you know, and she's standing still, and when she's taking that first touch, I thought to myself, she's wasted that, you know. I think for me that you'd have taken that first time if that was me, but maybe that's why I wasn't a striker. But you know, she's composed and she's managed to side foot that into the back of the net, and that just put Glasgow City back on the front foot, and they certainly changed their attitude for me, Glasgow City, and their mindset coming into the second half.
Yeah, I think she maybe was caught a little bit cold with that one, but she was definitely in the mood after that. Lauren Davidson also came into the game more and more in the second half. Mitchell will be disappointed in the goals, but you know, Davidson so comfortable coming in there onto her right foot.
Yeah, and for me the first half Lauren Davidson did perform extremely well, and she was lacking a little bit of confidence, she was getting frustrated. Second half she was much more better.
And Abby Grant really showed when she was about there. Good first touch, a great pass and a great run from Farley, but Grant just so comfortable then when the ball comes to her at her feet.
Yeah, and I think for Farley it was important for her in the second half to squeeze higher up, to be more involved, and you can see her worth there. A fantastic ball through, and Abby Grant's just taken her first touch, opened up the goal and put it in the far corner. Great finish.
Abby Grant lit that hole as an darnle ma ha Michael nish brin the art coach Glasgow City, Eileen Gleeson.
Eileen, comfortable victory in the end tonight. Are you happy with that?
Yeah, happy with the second half performance. Would rather forget the first half performance, but yeah, proud of the girls for the second half performance. You know, they had to come from the disappointment Sunday of, you know, not winning the league, so it takes a lot of courage and bravery to come out and bring intensity like they did in the second half. So yeah, happy with the result, and obviously delighted for Abby Grant coming on and, you know, having a really good performance too.
You had a number of changes in your starting 11 tonight. Can you tell us your thinking behind that?
Yeah, well, we had a couple of injuries from Sunday, or a couple of slight, niggles, so we had to rest some players. Of course, we have Hibs on Sunday, 3 games in a week, so yeah, rotating players, and yes, that's the changes.
You touched on it there, Sunday's game, obviously the disappointment of that, losing the league, but how was the morale in the dressing room after that game? Was it difficult to lift the players after that?
Yeah, well, I mean, of course, it's a huge disappointment, but as I said on Sunday, that's football and you have to move forward. We then had a midweek game that we had to focus on, and we have a cup final coming up, so there's still lots to play for, and we still have to be our best selves and get 6 points between now and Sunday and finish as good as we can.
You mentioned the cup final there,
Yeah.
also Champions League football for
Yeah.
next season. Still plenty to look forward to. Does
Absolutely.
that soften the blow in a way, losing that league title?
I don't know what softens the blow, but you still have to focus on what you have and what you don't have at this point, and this is what professional sport is about, and sport in general. You win and you lose, and you have to measure the disappointment and the elation for both. So yeah, we have to focus on tonight, and we have to focus Sunday and then the cup final.
Thank you very much, Eileen, for speaking to us.
Thank you.
Coach Glasgow City, Eileen Gleeson, Aberdeen, Michael. Just a brief thought on Eileen there. She's saying, focus on the next game and on the cup final, but as the head coach, she's already looking at next season. She's planning for that, isn't she?
Yeah, I bet she's already got a list of potential targets that she wants to bring in for next season.
Hys nysdi hanes y sal chlwch ydyr y gêm ha mi nochus gyl Michael Chwms Bryn Ri Abby Grant.
Abby, congratulations tonight. You made an impact coming off in the second half there. Were you delighted with your own performance?
Yeah, I just wanted to give 100%, even if I wasn't starting, just to come on and bring energy and just bring my best self for the team, and that's all I could really do, and luckily that paid off tonight.
I touched on it there with your manager, Eileen. How difficult was that on Sunday there, losing the title to Rangers?
Yeah, of course it's difficult. It's been 14 great years, but look, we just wanted to bounce back in this game, and I think we did, especially in the second half. But yeah, again, we'll bounce back again next year with Glasgow City, and that's what we do.
Looking ahead then, you've got a choice to make at the end of this season. What you've got a cup final to look forward to. Have you thought about what happens after the season for yourself?
I've not really thought too much into it. I'm just looking to finish the season strong with Glasgow City, but everyone knows how much I love this club, and it's my home, and yeah, the next 2 weeks I'll give 100% and then see what happens at the end of the season. But yeah, we've got a cup final to win first.
Thank you so much for speaking to us, Abby. You're today's player of the game.
Thank you.
Abby Grant is in Bryn Ri Michael, agus fein y molig hon. Pleased at the player of the game, I think. Not ruling anything out for next season, but you wouldn't do that at this stage, would you?
No, of course not. And she's obviously mentioned there in a few times in that short interview that she wants to give 100% because she's desperate to play at home as she speaks. She finds Glasgow City as her home team here, based in Scotland, and she has to give 100% if she wants to try and win a contract at the end of this season. She has to do that.
Emma, thank you very much. Emma Black here, thank you, son. The Chujoch nog Pishinje and I well a shack in Ranka in Tag Mar and decent. I guess it Nich Hakemery no Queen's Park Eardry in Nahi Chujoch Bio Akin. He had game other than that skipping for Coaka Vices Championship in Nahazen. Queen's Park for Hill Kenny and decent zip Eardry in Noi in Nahi. I guess the Michelah and Ocean or something Emerson. Michael, he is returned the park editions on the Sarisla Nakalako Manochus.
Well, Glasgow City o Búnich, céad go hún a seoag Park of Petershill. Game a dhéad dhéana déan ach an gaibh Jodóní sa tíon idir Celtic agus Rangers a chun na sin ma ha bhuain go le seo, Martian Live.